I'm back. What's up, guys? Thanks again for joining me on another episode of The O'Neill Show. As many of you know, I was banned off of Facebook for simply posting this picture of Kyle Rittenhouse. Now, the interesting thing, and this is what sort of gets to me, when they gave me the 30-day ban for this, all it said was the infamous, your post or picture goes against our community standards. Okay, fine. Every other time I've been banned, which is quite a few, they always list specifically in what aspect you violated it, whether it's bullying, harassment. I mean, I got banned once for calling someone a potato. That's neither here nor there. The only thing that drives me nuts with Facebook is their consistency. There is no consistency. Okay, and what I mean by this is when Trump was in office, I had posted a picture, and I believe the picture was the girl in the picture. I believe it was Joy Behar from The View. I could be getting the name wrong. She had posted a picture of her basically holding a severed, bloody Donald Trump head, right? Everybody thought it was funny. It was all over social media. Well, when Biden got into office, I had posted the same picture, except the picture was edited, and instead of Trump's head, it was Biden's head. And I did it just to see. And sure enough, boom, I got banned, right? There's no consistency, right? There's never any consistency with these rules. The fact checkers on Facebook just came out in a piece saying that the fact checkers, air quotes, fact checkers, are actually just opinions. There's been a multitude of people getting banned, and then when they go back and actually request, where did I go wrong? What was offensive? Yada yada yada. Half the times the videos and the posts weren't even reviewed. They were just tagged by the algorithm and boom, done. That's neither here nor there now. So we got a lot to catch up on. Big news: the Build Back Better agenda is pretty much in the dumps, which is good. This shouldn't come as a surprise to the left. Democratic Senator Joe Manchin, he was essentially him and Kirsten Sinema, where for the longest time now we're basically hinting that they weren't going to go with it. So this is out of CNN Politics, and which, by the way, if you ever want some real left-wing propaganda, go to CNN Politics. But more on that later. So this is from CNN. Democratic Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia said he's no on the Build Back Better Act, effectively ending negotiations on this version of legislation that would expand the nation's social safety net. Manchin has always been a key holdout for the legislation, sharing concerns over certain provisions of the massive tax and spending bill and how it may exacerbate soaring inflation in the country, which we're all experiencing right now. And I cannot vote, I quote, "I cannot vote to continue with this piece of legislation. I just can't. I've tried everything humanly possible. I can't get there," he said on Fox News Sunday. "This is a no on this legislation. I have tried everything I know to do, and the president has worked diligently. He's been wonderful to work with. He knows I've had concerns and problems, the concerns and problems I've had. And the thing we should all be directing our attention towards, the variant, a COVID that we have coming back at us in so many different aspects, in different ways, it's affecting our lives again." More on that one. So Manchin's support for the bill, which according to CNN would have costed $1.9 trillion, which is not true. It was in the excess of, I believe, $3.7 trillion. And with the whole lie too that apparently it's paid for, which is not, but we'll get into that. So Manchin's support for the bill, a quote from CNN, a $1.9 trillion spending plan focused on expanding the nation's social safety net, reducing America's childcare and healthcare costs, and climate change. Oh, there's that one. It is necessary for Democrats to pass this legislation using a process called budget reconciliation, meaning it would only need 51 votes to pass. Now, the reconciliation is basically they're able to push it through on their own, which they're not doing. In a statement his office released after the interview, Manchin reiterated he could not support the legislation. Now, here is where, for once, CNN actually took the quote in its context. And I'll read this to you, but when I read this is the way, as far as I'm concerned, every senator should be thinking when they go to vote a bill in, okay? So Manchin says right here, quote, "I've always said if I can't go back home and explain it, I can't vote for it. Despite my best efforts, I cannot explain the sweeping Build Back Better Act in West Virginia, and I cannot vote to move forward on this mammoth piece of legislation," he said in a statement. Now that means something, because he's right. And so many of these senators and governors are just passing things without even, hearing or listening to what the people want, right? And the majority of people are now starting to realize that, A, it's not paid for. It's a lot more money than the mainstream media is letting off, right? And those things factor in. A person familiar with the discussions between President Joe Biden and Manchin told CNN it was clear Manchin was headed in the direction as Biden privately told aides this week. He was no longer confident he could ultimately get the West Virginia by the way, West Virginia is about as red as you can get. So we have a blue politician, a Democratic politician, in a very red state, which isn't a bad thing. He was no longer confident he could ultimately get the West Virginia Democrat on board, but White House officials were surprised when Manchin informed them Sunday morning he had already arrived at a final decision. Going on here, the reaction was obviously not positive, according to the source. One senior administration official told CNN it was totally a surprise. It shouldn't have been. Manchin, from day one on this bill, has been very hesitant. He's had a multitude of problems with it. And the biggest problem is just the amount of spending. Okay? And people don't realize this. The inflation's going up. If this act passes, it's just going to... Like, the government right now is just printing money. Even in Canada, they're just printing money. Inflation, for those, who I know the people that watch me, they know what inflation is. But for those who are just tuning in, inflation is more money chasing less product. And you're going to have everything rise. And even with the whole minimum wage, right? Let's get the $15 minimum wage. The moment you do that, you raise wages. Well, the company's just going to turn around and raise prices. But more on that. The president... it was a total surprise. Manchin informed the White House they were the first to know, and he had not told even his staff yet. The president learned his chief negotiating partner was pulling the plug from White House aides who did not hear the news directly from the senator, but from a member of his staff roughly 30 minutes before he went on air. Manchin wouldn't take a call from the White House staff who tried to reach him Sunday morning, according to a senior administration official. As of Sunday night, the two still had not spoken, according to a senior administration official. Politico first reported about the White House's attempt to reach Manchin to get him to reconsider. In response to criticism from progressives that Manchin was holding up the bill because he wasn't supportive, he said he supported holding a vote for the bill. So he's still supporting a vote, but go ahead and vote it because it's not going to go through. Here's the thing. When it's time, just vote. I've been saying that. Just vote. If that's what people need to show where they are, then vote, he said on Fox News. He added, quote, they've tried to make this adjustment or just trying... Sorry. He added, who the heck wrote CNN? They've trying to make this adjustment, or just trying to make the adjustment for the time to fit the money or the money to fit the time. Not changing our approach, not targeting things we should be doing, making sure that people basically that truly need it are getting it. Making sure that we can do things in a much better fashion. We have things that we can do in a bipartisan way, the way the Senate is supposed to work, if we'll just let it happen. Just go through the committees, let's work it. CNN has reached out to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Nancy Pelosi for comment, or House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. In a remarkable statement attacking a member of Biden's own party, the White House said Manchin's comments were at odds with his discussions this week with the president, with the White House staff, and with his own public utterances. The statement gives that the White House claimed were details of Manchin's discussion with the president, something administration had been reluctant to do. Okay, so you get the idea, right? He's obviously not on board. The same with Kristen Sinema. She's pretty much in the same boat. This would have been this article right here, again, also from CNN. This was back, I believe, early December. Kristen Sinema, the influential moderate Democrat senator from Arizona, which is a purple state, did not commit to voting for President Joe Biden's sweeping social safety net legislation. Okay, so the big thing is, right, I mean, I can keep reading these articles left and right. If I go to Fox... If I go to, say, Daily Wire, if I go to Breitbart, it's generally the same thing. I want to say CNN didn't do a terrible job in this article because really all they did was just take quotes from them. But hey, you know what? They kept them in context, which is a plus. So this is from the actual White House itself. Okay, so this is the Build Back Better plan. Let's go through this because it's an absolute disaster. But the way it's worded is also a way to essentially deceive people of what it actually is. So let's go down here. Here we go. So the Build Back Better Act, let's start here, offers universal and free preschool for all 3 to 4 year olds. The largest expansion of universal and free education since states and communities across the country established public high school 100 years ago. Okay, no, so my first problem with this, it's offering free preschool, okay? And you're going to notice as we go through this, everything is public, right? They're trying to publicize or make everything public, school public, childcare, right? They want you essentially having to rely on the government for all your needs, right? Even though there are many people out there who do homeschooling, they do private schooling, and most people, I would say, as a parent myself, I would never send my kid to a public daycare, right? That's just, they're too, in my opinion, they're too young of an age. I don't really know the situation, what's going on. So we go with private. Well, it doesn't offer any money or any deductibles if you are going privately. So if you have, say, someone down the street who's watching your kids, you're still paying out of pocket, and this act is not helping you at all, unless you have your kids in a public system. Makes the largest investment in childcare in the nation's history, saving most American families more than $500,000 on their spending on childcare, which again goes back to the whole public thing. Delivers affordable, high-quality care for older Americans and people with disabilities in their homes while supporting the workers who provide this care. Now, this one sounds pretty promising, so if I expand it more to see what their actual plan is. Right now, there are hundreds of thousands of older Americans and Americans with disabilities on the waiting list for home care services or struggling to afford the care they need, including more than 800,000 who are on state medical waiting lists. A family paying for home care costs out of pocket currently pays around $5,800 per year. If you're taking care of someone, I'm going to assume it's a lot more than that per year, but hey. $5,800 per year for just 4 hours of home care per week. Okay, so that's all you're getting is 4 hours. Most people that are in need of that service, it's usually a 5-7 day a week ordeal. The Build Back Better framework will permanently improve Medicaid coverage for home care services for seniors and people with disabilities, making the most transformative investment to access to home care in 40 years when these services were authorized for Medicaid. There's been lots of problems with Medicaid, a lot of fraud, things like that. The next one provides 39 million households up to $3,600 or $300 per month in tax cuts per child by extending the American Rescue Plan's expanded check-style credit. So again, that one sounds good. Now let's expand it. The Build Back Better framework will provide monthly payments to parents of nearly 90% of American children for 2022, $300 per month per child under 6, and $250 a month per child ages 6 to 17. This historic tax cut will help cover the cost of food, housing, healthcare, and transportation, and will continue the largest one-year reduction in child poverty in history. There's no evidence that it's going to do that. I mean, so if you back up, it says right here, it says we'll provide payments to parents. Okay, so they're already being taken care of. And then it says it'll be the largest one-year reduction in child poverty in history. Okay, well, why 1 year? Right? Doesn't make much sense to me. Anyways, and again, what is $250, $300 a month going to do? Not much. I mean, yeah, you might be able to buy groceries for a week or a couple boxes of diapers, but at the end, it ultimately doesn't help you. Now here comes the infamous leftist talking point. The largest effort to combat climate change in American history. This is where it gets juicy. Deliver substantial consumer rebates and tax credit to reduce costs for middle-class families shifting to clean energy and electrification. So in other words, buying electric cars, things like that. I don't know about you, but for someone in the middle class, a blue-collar worker who's working, it is much more cheaper and affordable to buy a 5-10-year-old gas car or a truck than a $40,000-$50,000 Tesla. Even with a $12,000 rebate, I would say probably 75% of the people in the middle class can't go out right now and just, I'm going to buy a Tesla, or I'm going to put solar panels on my roof, or I'm going to whatever. All that costs money, costs big money, right? Ensures clean energy technology from wind turbine blades to solar panels to electric cars. Will be built in the United States with American-made steel and other materials, creating hundreds of thousands of good jobs here at home. Okay, well, the issue that I take with this one is Biden closed the pipeline that was running from Canada to the U.S. and actually started or gave the go-ahead on a pipeline in Russia. So he already took jobs away. So essentially what? You're going to replace jobs that you gave away? You know what I mean? Is that what's going? Because if that's the case, then you're not really creating jobs. And even too, the whole thing saying the White House is trying to say, oh, well, the Biden administration has created the most jobs in history. No, that's not true, right? The U.S., the entire world was put into an artificial coma and jobs were taken away. And now jobs that are coming back, people that are going back to work, they're factoring in to that equation, right? They think that's creating new jobs when it's not. Advances environmental justice. Oh, that's a good one. Through a new clean energy and sustainability accelerator that will invest in projects around the country while delivering 40% of the benefits of investments to disadvantaged communities as part of the President's Justice 40 initiative. So let's expand that one because that one's a little interesting too. The framework will also fund port electrification, facilitate the development of cleaner transit buses and trucks. Again, that's in order to do all that is a lot of money. And if you were to go in and you were to start, this would take a long time to do, but if you were to start running numbers of everything, you would learn real quick that this isn't a 1 point something trillion deal, and it's not paid for. And support critical community capacity building, including grants to environmental justice communities. Okay, they're environmental justice communities. Okay, so you're going to give money to environmental justice communities instead of actually doing something with it to make the environment better. Like everything in here, it contradicts itself. In addition, the framework will create a new civilian climate corp with over 300,000 members that look like America. This diverse new workforce will conserve our public lands, bolster community resilience, and address the changing climate, all while putting good-paying union jobs within the reach for more Americans. I have an issue when they try to talk about diversity. So when I was younger, I was always taught, you never judge someone by the color of the skin. You judge them on the content of your character. The left, for some reason, and the right's guilty of this too, feels the need to, oh, you're black. We have to put you in this position. There's too many white people here, or there's too many, Could you imagine someone saying, oh, there's too many black people in here. We got to put some white people in here. It makes no sense. It shouldn't matter whether you're black, black, white, pink, brown, blue. What matters is what you can bring to the table, what you can offer, your intelligence, your smarts, your character. The left calls the right racist all the time. And meanwhile, it's the left that's going, well, based on the color, we have to have people of this color in here. We have to have people this color in here. Hypocrites. Bolsters resilience and natural solutions to climate change through historic investment in coastal restoration, forest management, and soil conservation. Again, another one. This should be good. The framework will provide resources to farmers, ranchers, and forest land owners. Okay, first of all, what resources are you going to give farmers? Most farmers that I've ever seen are pretty self-sufficient. Ranchers and forest land owners, supporting their efforts to reduce emissions. Oh, what? You want to take, Bob John's tractor away and give him an electric one? Jeez. At its peak, the increased investments in climate-smart agriculture alone could reach roughly 130 million cropland acres per year, representing as many as 240,000 farms. Farmers, ranchers, and forest landowners have long demonstrated leadership in environmental stewardship with strategies that provide benefits for the farm, the environment, and the public. These investments will help meet the demand from the farming community and conservation support and enable producers to realize the full potential of climate benefits in agriculture. Okay, so this one's good too. Reduce prescription drug costs. Many people were excited about that. Trump did something similar with insulin, actually. So this is a long one, but we'll just get to the meat of it. Medicare will negotiate prices for high-cost prescription drugs. Okay, so there you go. They've already shot themselves in the foot. Will negotiate. So they haven't negotiated yet, but that's their plan, is to negotiate. High-cost prescription drugs. This will include drugs seniors get at the pharmacy counter through Medicare Part D and drugs that are administered in the doctor's office through Medicare Part B. Drugs become eligible for negotiation once they have been on the market for a fixed number of years. Aha, there it is. 9 years for small molecule drugs and 12 years for biologics. Okay, so even if let's say hypothetically this did pass, you're still waiting forever. Hey, who knows? Maybe it'll be a good thing, right? They'll be able to have nine years to negotiate. Medicare will negotiate up to 10 drugs per year. Okay, so there you go. 10 drugs per year, even though there are thousands on the market and thousands that people rely on. So hopefully you're in one of the 10. With those, negotiate to 10 drugs per year during 2023, with those prices taking effect in 2025, increasing to up to 20 drugs per year. The policy will establish a clearly defined negotiation process that is fair for manufacturers and gets the biggest savings on drugs that have been on the market a long time. This discourages drug companies from abusing laws to prolong their monopolies, while encouraging investments in research development of new cures. Drug companies that refuse to negotiate will owe an excise tax. Well, with the amount of money they have, I'm sure they won't mind the tax. Here we go. Impose a tax penalty of drug companies. So that's what I just said. It's just going into that more often, which again, these companies are trillions. Whatever tax you want to slap on them, they'll pay it. So continue on. Strengthen the Affordable Care Act and reduce premiums for 9 million Americans. Closes the Medicaid coverage gap, leading 4 million uninsured people to gain coverage. Expands Medicare to cover hearing benefits. Whoopie-doo. The most significant effort to bring down costs and strengthen the middle class in generations. Makes the single largest and most comprehensive investment in affordable housing history. Okay, so remember how I said that the government wants you essentially relying on them and living off them. This is what I'm talking about. Makes the single largest and most comprehensive investment in affordable housing history. So they're going to be building affordable housing, right? They raise the minimum wage, knowing that cost of goods will go up with it. They're building affordable housing. They're giving you money, just not even enough, but some to put your kid in public daycare. They want you in this rut, because I'll be honest, as mean as it sounds, people flip out and go, well, the minimum wage is not a livable wage. It's not supposed to be. It's minimum wage, right? Minimum wage, minimum effort. Why should someone who's MIG welding or TIG welding or an automotive mechanic or an electrician, why should they be making the same as someone who flips burgers, right? If you are going to flip out over minimum wage, you have to understand that's not a full-time job, right? That's a stepping stone to what you want to do next in life. So if you have the mentality that, well, I'm going to work at Tim Hortons, or I'm going to work at Burger King, or I'm going to work at McDonald's for the rest of my life on a minimum wage and I want it to be livable, well, guess what? It's not going to happen, right? You shouldn't be getting $20 to flip a burger, right? And if that does happen, if, let's say McDonald's turned around and said, yeah, you know what, we'll give everyone $25 an hour. Well, guess what? Your next Big Mac's going to cost probably $25, right? That's how it works. And people don't seem to realize that. They just think you can print off money and everything will get better. It doesn't work like that, because the minute everyone starts having hundreds and thousands of dollars to spend, the prices are going to go up on everything because you're going to have more money chasing less product. Moving on. Extends the expanded earned income tax credit for around 17 million low-wage workers, right? So again, they want you in that rut. You know what I mean? Don't worry, we'll give you a little bit of money at the end of the year. Expands access to, here it is again, affordable high-quality education beyond high school. So in other words, community college, things like that, right? Where most people, I'm not a big fan of college or university. I mean, you can have a PhD or a degree. It doesn't make you any smarter, right? I don't need a PhD or a degree to call bullshit when I see it. Promotes nutrition security to support children's health. So basically, when they're in these schools, they're going to be given, bananas, apples, healthy stuff, which I guess, okay, that's fine. But, one good thing out of 100 bad things really doesn't make everything better. Strengthens the middle class through historic investment in equity, safety, and fairness. Okay, well, what does that mean? This legislation makes a transformative investment in rural America through a new rural partnership program that will empower rural regions, including tribal nations and territories, by providing flexible funding for locally led projects. The Build Back Better framework will provide nutrition security to millions of American children by expanding free school meals, which are the healthiest meals that children consume during the day. Everybody knew that. It also will make historic investment in maternal. Everything's historic, right? This is what kills me. Everything is historic. And if you want to talk about, putting money in, when Obama was in power, there was, I believe it was the black colleges. They had to go to Obama every year for funding, right? Every year, and he had to approve it. So they came to Trump, and Trump said, well, why are you coming to me every year? Well, this is how we do it. So Trump turned around, and I think he signed, I could be rough on this, he either signed or gave them enough funding for, I believe it was either 5 or 10 years. It could be wrong on that, but it was a significant amount of time. And then these historic black colleges and schools had their funding, right? They were set, they were good to go. Nobody reported on that. No one, wasn't a big news headline, but this is supposed to be big. In addition to investing in small businesses and preparing the nation for future pandemics and supply chain distributions. So future pandemics. Apparently they know something we don't. Invest in immigration reform. Oh boy. This one should be good. The framework includes a separate $100 billion investment in immigration reform that is consistent with the Senate's reconciliation rules, as well as enhancements to reduce backlogs, expand legal representation, and make the asylum system and border processing more efficient and humane. Now, one thing in there about securing the border, and let's face it, right now, they're pouring in the southern border, right? They're pouring in there at record numbers, or as the Biden White House would say, historic numbers. Okay, so this is where it gets good. The Build Back Better framework is fully paid for. Bullshit. Let's continue. Combined with savings from repealing the Trump administration's rebate rule, the plan is fully paid for by asking more from the very largest corporations. Okay, notice how they said ask, not take. They're asking, right? They're going to get laughed at. Very largest corporations and the wealthiest Americans. The 2017 tax cut delivered a windfall to them. Okay, let's get into that. Again, this is sort of like the inflation kind of deal. Yes, Trump gave tax cuts to corporations because this is how it works. Okay, if you jack up a tax rate, okay, say it's Tesla or Microsoft or Apple or whatever big Fortune 500 company you want to talk about, the moment you raise their taxes on them, they're gone. They're gone. They're going to go somewhere either overseas or somewhere where the tax is lower. When you incentivize big companies with low taxes, that brings the company into that area. They create jobs. People have jobs. People spend money. People buy more product. That's the way it works, and prices fall. That was Trump's idea, and it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. If we go back to the whole, I may have talked about this before, when Amazon tried to get into New York was offering, I believe it was, I could be wrong on this one, $6 million tax break. Yeah, $6 million. I believe that's what it was. Anyways, it was millions of dollars in tax breaks. The wonderful AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, came in and this is the intelligence of people like her. She actually said, she goes, well, that money could be better spent elsewhere. It's like, no, that's not how it works. It's not that New York was giving Amazon. Okay, let's say it was $6 million for argument's sake. New York wasn't giving Amazon $6 million. They just didn't have to pay taxes up to $6 million. Once that was surpassed, then they would start paying taxes. But they were bringing in hundreds, thousands of jobs. Thousands. Right? That would have been huge for New York. That would have been a bustling business. She kiboshed that one. So that's how that works. So let's continue. The plan is fully paid for by asking from the very largest corporations and wealthiest Americans. The 2017 tax cut delivered a windfall to them, and this would help reverse that. And invest in the country's future. No one making under $400,000 will pay a penny more in taxes. By the way, you know what the presidential salary is for Biden? $400,000. Specifically, the framework stops large, profitable corporations from paying zero in tax, which is a lie. They actually pay a lot in tax. Every big company that's been well settled in their areas is now paying a lot of tax. In tax and tax corporations that buy back stock rather than invest in the company. Stops rewarding corporations for shipping jobs and profits overseas. Oh, kind of like you did, Biden. And most people don't realize, too, when Trump was in office, the U.S., for the first time, was energy independent. Right? Think about that one. Ask the highest income Americans to pay their fair share. Okay, so You're going to ask Elon Musk to pay more in taxes because he makes, I think his net worth now is $1 trillion, or his company's worth that. You know how much tax money he'll pay this year? $11 billion. That's not enough. That's not a fair share. I digress. Invest in enforcing our existing tax laws so the wealthy pay what they owe. Okay, well, if they weren't following tax laws, that would be tax fraud. But if you notice, this is how this kind of stuff is worded, because people read it and they go, oh, cool, I want that, right? People are inherently lazy, right? Who's going to say, it's like the whole thing with COVID, when they were giving, basically handing checks out for people to stay home. Who in their right mind, I mean, I personally, I enjoy working, I enjoy getting up, I enjoy accomplishing something throughout the day. But majority of people, what do you here, take this money and stay home, or go out and work, make slightly less money, and actually have to do something. Well, they're going to stay home, right? So when you start throwing things out like this, well, this is free or that's free. We're going to give you money. We're going to give you more money for this. People have lost almost all independent critical thinking skills. Then they're just waiting for a handout now, right? No one's willing to sit there and actually start working and working for themselves and their family and make their own, instead of relying on the government. The government can't fix all your problems. If you think the government can fix your problems, you're in a lot of trouble. So that's it. That's the ridiculousness of it. But going back to CNN, there's been a scandal that's come out, and CNN's in a bit of hot water, so to speak. So this came out, and this is from Fox, because CNN, you actually can't find nothing about this, like even on YouTube, there's nothing on it. Or is it here? Yeah, so John Griffin, who was a senior producer for CNN's flagship morning day program, New Day, and was also a producer for Chris Cuomo, CNN suspended one of its staffers following a federal indictment accusing him of coercing parents to allow their minor daughters to engage in sexual activity at his home. Just disgusting. But the long and short of it, this gentleman, or I wouldn't call him that, this monster, according to the indictment from April to July of 2020, Griffin utilized the messaging applications Kik and Google Hangouts to communicate with people purporting to be parents of minor daughters, conveying them to them, among other ideas, that a woman is a woman regardless of her age, and that woman should be sexually subservient and inferior to men. Geez, kind of sounds like the stuff the left is always going against. Yet here we are. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Vermont wrote in a statement on these communication platforms, Griffin sought to persuade parents to allow him to train their daughter to be sexually submissive. In June of 2020, Griffin advised a mother of a 9-year-old and a 13-year-old that the mother's responsibility was to see that her older daughter was trained properly. Now, from what I hear, ammo's expensive right now, but one solid 9mm to this guy's thought machine would solve the problem and save taxpayers money too once he's in prison. Goes on, Griffin later transferred over $3,000 to the mother for plane tickets so the mother and her 9-year-old daughter could fly from Nevada to Boston's Logan Airport. The mother and child flew to Boston in July of 2020, where Griffin picked them up in his Tesla. Oh, the elites, you gotta love them. And drove them to his Ludlow house. At the house, the daughter was directed to engage in and did engage in unlawful sexual activity, the statement read. As far as I'm concerned, the mother is guilty, if not worse than him. But this is, and then another one, who was a producer, I believe, for Jake Tapper. I want to say that. His name was Rick Salaby. And this was actually caught and released by Project Veritas. Project Veritas has done fantastic work. They actually caught producers of CNN after the 2020 election was over, and the CNN producers openly admitted that their main goal throughout the election cycle was to have Trump out, which is why they didn't post anything on the Hunter Biden tapes or the laptop, sorry. None of that. That was all buried. And this is what big tech is good at. Big tech is phenomenal at controlling the narrative. And it's crazy because when you see people, especially that follow CNN, they're so die hard. They're so the government can help us. It's absolutely crazy, and it goes back to the whole premise of if you think the government can solve your problems, you have a big problem. The staffer in question, Rick Salaby, is a producer on The Lead with Jake Tapper. According to a press release, after ensuring if the family involved was safe, Project Veritas released the name, and here's everything we know about the scandal. So this guy was pretty much the same kind of deal. Sexual misconduct that was witnessed in leaked videos and pictures from the controversial conservative watchdog group Project Veritas. I really wouldn't call them conservative. I'd call them truth seekers, to be honest with you. It just happens to be the left is the most scandalous, and that's what they go after. And another thing, so having said all that, right, what's going on with CNN? Chris Cuomo's left. He was canned. And I mean, they're saying that it was because of he was helping his brother, Andrew Cuomo. For all we know, it could be because of these scandals. The first guy. But if we go to CNN Politics page, okay, and this is sort of what I'm talking about here. So here I am. I'm on the CNN Politics page. Now let's go down and let's look at some stories. These are the stories that are on their main page. So here we go. First one. Alex Jones sues House January 6th committee. Manchin says he still sees himself as a Democrat even after thwarting Build Back Better plan. Next headline, Justice Breyer has Democrats even more worried about the midterm elections, as they should be worried. We go down farther to top news. How months of talks between Biden and Manchin over Build Back Better broke down. Florida was once the perennial swing state. 2022 may prove how red it has become. If you go over to our side headlines here, it's all Florida Democrat on January 6th committee. It's all January 6th, stop the steal. If you go down even farther than that, White House issues a damning statement against Manchin after saying he won't vote for Build Back Better. Biden suffers twin blows from Manchin. Senate confirms Rahm Emanuel. Go down even farther, and oh, look at that. They're talking about Trump. It's always Trump. Trump this, Trump that. They January 6th, COVID, and Trump. The three things that CNN just can't let go. They just will not let him die. I bet you in 10 years they'll still be talking about it. Okay, so the next story, and this one is a bit interesting, and I want to put this in, or I want to read this story and compare it because, I was reading it and I said, I don't really, I'm neither here nor there on this one. To me, it's not really a big deal, but I want to put it into perspective here. So, in Quebec, in Canada, there was a bill that was passed called Bill 21. So here it is right here. Quebec's secularism law, commonly known as Bill 21, was passed into law by the Quebec National Assembly on June 16, 2019. The 18-page law contains many statements of principles declaring the province's commitment to secularism, but also fine details like imposing a dress code on several categories of provincial civil servants, including police officers and teachers. Article 6 of the law prohibits wearing clothing, a symbol, jewelry, adornments, accessories, or headwear that is connected to a religious belief or could be reasonably considered as such. While the law is popular in Quebec, it is also hotly contested in the province and across Canada. Several people from religious minorities who have been forced to choose between career ambitions, pay attention to what I just read right there, choose between career ambitions and religious faith are challenged in law supported by advocacy groups. Masks. The masks that everyone wants you to wear on your face that don't do anything. Or the vaccine mandate. People have lost their jobs because they won't get vaxxed. Okay, and again, I'm not going to go into this because at this point, I'm not even beating the dead horse. I'm curb stomping it. If you have the vaccine, you are fine. Okay? Look at all the lockdowns that are happening right now. Okay? By day, I'm a courier. And I've delivered to a multitude of businesses that they got right on the front door. Vaccinated or not, wear a mask, social distance. Why? Why? If you are vaccinated, then why? What was the point of getting vaccinated? Well, it reduces transmission, it reduces effects. Okay, fine. So then why do you care if Joe Blow doesn't have it? I'm not getting it. My family's not getting it. For all we know, we could have already had it. When this thing first hit, me and my family got incredibly sick. Really, really, really bad. And all the symptoms that we had were that of COVID. Now, at the time, we didn't know what COVID was. And then probably, I would say 2-3 weeks after we started to get better, boom, that's when it reported it was hitting. But it's hypocritical. Less than a month ago, people were laughing at people that were not vaccinated, saying, oh, I can go to movies now, I can go to restaurants. What about now? Now you can't. Vaccinated or not. You're now back in the same boat as the unvaccinated. Right? And again, it's like beating a dead horse with this. You know, if you have the damn vaccine and you're still scared of this COVID stuff, or you're scared of someone who isn't vaccinated, then you obviously don't trust the vaccine. Okay? But why should someone who isn't vaxxed, say for religious reasons, or even their own personal beliefs, they had to choose between their job and the vaccine? As a matter of fact, this is worse than this Bill 21. They had to put an experimental drug, they were required to put an experimental drug into their body. Not once, not twice, but it's looking like 3 and possibly even 4 times with the boosters, or lose their job. Yet people are freaking out over this. If saying if you can't wear a chain with a cross, or if you wear a hijab or whatever like that, then you have to choose between that and your job. I don't care one way or another. It doesn't faze me. If you want to wear a hijab or you want to wear a big cross and you're a police officer or you're a teacher, I don't care. But again, consistency is what I ask for. That's it. And neither our government, the Canadian government, the Trudeau government, or the Biden administration has no consistency in any of their rules. And the same people that are getting mad at this, right? Well, she should be allowed to wear her hijab, or she should be allowed to wear a cross with a necklace, or a ring with a cross, whatever. Those same people are the ones like, no, you have to get the jab. You have to get the jab so I can feel safe. Right? There's no logic to it. There's no consistency to it. And that's all I ask for, right? Just consistency. At the end of the day, what I think will happen is this COVID crap is going to continue, right? We're already locking down for Christmas. I'm in Canada and they're already doing lockdowns. They're already talking about it. They're talking about minimizing how many people at your family gatherings, which, by the way, piss off. Until the government starts paying all of my bills, and all of them completely, they can't tell me who I have in my own house. But what will happen, I think, is after the 20th or 30th booster, when everyone starts looking like Frankenstein, it'll slowly start to dissipate, right? It'll start to die down, and then when the government thinks it's nice and ready, then the government will go, oh, we're back to normal. Okay, let's open everything up now. Let's open everything up, and then they'll be the heroes. They'll save the day, and everyone on the left will cheer. That's the most logical thing with the way our governments work so far. I think that's the most logical way I could see them handling this. But even with this new variant, okay, it's more transmissible, which is good, and it's less lethal, which is great, because now that means more people can catch it, not suffer as many symptoms as much. And isn't that funny? People who are vaccinated are getting it. Imagine that. But it builds up antibodies. So if anything, this is what you want. You want more transmissible, less lethal. And to date, worldwide, how many people at the filming of this video, how many people have died of the new Omicron variant? You know how many? 12. Not 12,000, not 1,200, not 120, 12. But they're blowing it out of proportion. Omicron has been around for in and around a month. And now they're saying we have to lock down, social distance. They keep pushing the boosters. And what blows my mind is anyone with 2 brain cells to rub together and is able to critically think on their own will sit there and go, well, gee, I got the first shot. I got the first booster. I'm getting the 3rd booster. And hell, if I have to, I'll get a 4th booster. Oh, but you still have to social distance, lock down, wear your mask. Why? Then what's the point? If you're going to be in the same boat of the people who are not vaxxed, what's the point? I'll tell you the point. The point of all of this, it's control. This goes back to what I was talking about, how the government wants you to basically worship them and rely on them for everything, instead of making your own decisions, thinking for yourself, going out there, doing what you need to do to protect your family, to provide for your family. They don't want that. They don't want free thinking. You know, it's funny. There's a rapper named Tom McDonald, great rapper, by the way. And there was a lyric that he had in one of his songs, and the lyric goes like this. It goes, when you were born as children, we were taught how to walk and talk. Now as adults, we're essentially told to sit down and shut up. So I like that lyric because it does ring true to what's going on right now, but it's control. It's all it is. It's just control and power. And because we've given up so much control, we've given up so many of our freedoms. Look at what's happening. Inflation rates is going through the roof, even in Canada. In the next, coming up in the new year, they were predicting, I believe it was CTV London, was predicting that the food prices were going to go up 5 to 7%. Imagine that. Gas prices are already through the roof. It's all about power and control. But that's it for this video. Until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Follow me on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. And we'll look forward to the next video. Catch you later.